everyone. This is the Crime Cafe, your podcasting source of great crime, suspense, and thriller writing. I'm your host, Debbi Mack. Before I bring on my guest, I'll just remind you that the Crime Cafe has 2 ebooks for sale, the 9-book box set and the short story anthology. You can find the buy links for both on my website, debbimack.com, under the Crime Cafe link. You can also get a free copy of either book if you become a Patreon supporter. You'll get that and much more if you support the podcast on Patreon, along with our eternal gratitude for doing so. But first, let me put in a good word for Blueberry Podcasting. I'm a Blueberry affiliate, but that's not the only reason I'm telling you this. I've been using Blueberry Podcasting as my hosting service for my podcast for years, and it's one of the best decisions I ever made. They give great customer service. You're in complete control of your own podcast. You can run it from your own website, and it just takes a lot of the work out of podcasting for me. I find for that reason that it's a company that I can get behind 100% and say, you should try this. Try Blueberry. It doesn't require a long-term contract, and it's just a great company, period. And it also has free technical support by email, video, and phone. So you can get a human being there. Isn't that nice? Hi, everyone. My guest for this episode writes thriller novels. And he writes for adults and young adults. His books are in various stages of development for film and TV. He's also editor-in-chief and co-founder of Fringe, dedicated to publishing fiction that's outside the box. That sounds interesting. He is a contributor to several publications, including Pipeline Artists. His pilots and screenplays have been finalists in Script Pipeline, Book Pipeline, Stage 32, We Screenplay, Screencraft, and the Hollywood Screenplay Contests. He is also co-curator of the Guerrilla Lit Reading Series. I'm very pleased to have with me today author and screenwriter Lee Matthew Goldberg. Hi, Lee. It is wonderful to have you
Debbi.
on.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, it's my pleasure, believe me. And I had to get in the mention of Stage 32 because I'm on there too, and it's just
Oh, it's good. It's a good resource, I think, if you are a budding screenwriter and you're looking to like get in the industry and figure out how.
yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It is excellent resource. So let's start off. I wanted to start off. How did you start off writing novels or screenplays?
I mean, if we really go back in time, I was like a kid trying out writing screenplays, but my first actual publication was a novel in 2015. And then I had my second book optioned, and there was some interest, and it all seemed great. And then everything fell apart. And in my mind, I was like, well, let me just try to adapt all of my works, and then I could be the one trying to feed it to producers and try to make something happen. So that's kind of my goal now. I write the scripts of all my books and try to see what could happen.
Mm-hmm. Is there a form you enjoy? Do you enjoy doing both equally, or do you prefer one format over the other?
I mean, definitely, I'm a novelist first, and the time it takes to create a novel, you're giving yourself over a lot more. But I almost like screenplays now as like palate cleansers. Between books, it's a good way of me like recharging my mind to get ready to write the next book ultimately. And if a screenplay happens and it can go forward, it winds up being a lot more money than a novel sometimes. So it could help, financially.
True. Uh, just out of curiosity, do you find writing screenplays more emotionally involving than novels?
No, definitely novels are more emotionally involving. Screenplays, like I'm developing one of my books with an actress right now into a TV show, and I'm almost at the whim of her and her people. So it's like kind of whatever they want in a good way, but you kind of have to detach yourself a little bit from the characters. The character being turned over from the book is becoming a different person almost, and it's better for a TV show. But ultimately, as a writer, it's like you have to let go of the character a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, you do adaptations then.
Yeah, yeah. I have like one or two scripts that are original, but most of the time I'm adapting my own stuff and trying to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's excellent. An excellent strategy, by the way. Um, how do you divide your time between different projects?
So I'm pretty much always writing. Every once in a while, when I finish a project, maybe I'll take like a week or two off. But I'm always working on something. So like right now, I'm finishing up edits for a book I've been working on a really, really, really long time. And then after that, I'll probably take a break and maybe adapt one into a script and do that. And yeah, I pretty much work every day. I I'm in Central Park now, taking a break from working. So usually you can find me there under a tree in nice weather.
I was going to say, for anybody who's listening to this as opposed to watching it on YouTube, he's sitting in Central Park. There's a tree behind him, and the sun is shining at such an angle that it gives him almost an angelic look.
Yeah, there's the sun.
Very nice. Um,
It's
so
good
all
for
of
me to. Sorry to interrupt, but
no,
just living in the city and it being so chaotic all the time, I find just being in nature, it just really helps my creative mind.
I hear that loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so your books are all thrillers, correct?
My young adult series, oh, whoops, my young adult series, I would say is not a thriller, but all my adult books are, and some of them have a little bit of a sci-fi kind of connection to it.
Mm-hmm. Your thriller, your adult books are all standalones though, right?
No, actually,
Oh.
my current books that just came out is a 5 book series. But other than that, yeah, they've all been standalones. There's one I'm thinking of maybe writing a sequel to my book, The Ancestor. I would love to go back into that world. But yeah, right now, my series, The Desire Card, came out. So the 4th book just dropped this week, and it's called Vicious Ripples, and it's about a really awful organization called the Desire Card that promises any wish fulfilled for the right price.
Hmm.
And usually the price is, more menacing than anybody could imagine.
Uh-huh. Yes, yes. There goes your soul, right?
Yes, yeah, that's literally the tagline. It's those whose souls are indebted to this organization, basically.
Oh boy. Let's see. Your YA books, what are
Hmm.
they like? And what brought you
Uh,
into writing for young adults?
yeah, I kind of wanted to take a break from thriller writing and like killing people for uh, so I wanted to show like kind of my sweet side, and I had this really great idea about a girl in the 1990s who runs away from home to become a grunge singer like her idols Kurt Cobain and Courtney Love. And each chapter, it almost reads like a mixtape. Each chapter is set to a different song from the grunge era. And it's called Runaway Train, which was a big song by Soul Asylum back then. And yeah, I don't know. I always like to challenge myself. So it was, in the voice of a 16-year-old girl. I am not that. So it was just a way for me to see if I could try a different type of character. And that's the series actually that I'm working on developing into a TV show right now. So it's got the most notice in that world, randomly.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great. It's great that you
Hmm.
write in that character's voice by and not be that person, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it was really fun. I mean, I sort of found her humor first, and then I related to that, and then just remembered my own experiences from being a 16-year-old back then, and kind of just molded the character around that. So it's a 3 book series. So I was in her head for 3 books actually.
So you really get to know this character.
I get to know this character well. Yeah, yeah. I know Nico pretty well now. And now that we're adapting it potentially as a show, the character's changing a lot. She's a softer Nico than in the books. She's a lot like harder and a little more unlikable. And TV really likes characters to be likable. So that's been the biggest hurdle, is really making her like vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, likable enough for TV. Because
Yeah,
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 yeah. I mean, other than Better Call Saul, I'm trying to think of a dislikable character who you could end
yeah.
up
I
liking.
Yeah, I mean, you could go
If you go
back to
too
like
far.
the Sopranos, Breaking Bad, all of those shows. But like even in the Sopranos, like he fed the ducks. Like there was always like a nice quality about a character like that. But with Nico, we're really trying to, especially there's an actress interested, so it's her role. So it's a lot of her input into what she wants the character to be, and I'm completely open to that. I like when actually a movie or a TV show based on a book kind of takes on its own life and becomes its own project. So I'm really open to whatever um, is best for the character in the show.
Cool. Have her save a cat.
Yes, yes, yeah. There's no animals, killed in this at all. Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Good to hear. Um, I have to say I'm impressed with how well your screenplays have placed in various contests.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's been really cool. It's helped me meet people in the industry. I don't know if anything has directly like happened from it. A lot of my projects have gone like two steps forward and then one step back. But I've met a lot of people through it that I've stuck in touch with. And I think for any budding screenwriters, it's such a tough industry to break into, that any feedback you can get, I think, is good feedback, really, from professionals.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you. That's wonderful. Um, you said you write these screenplays as kind of palate cleansers between
Mm-hmm.
novels. So is
Mm-hmm.
your process to kind of roughly outline and then sit down and take 2 days and just bang it out, or do you take a little bit longer and
Yeah,
really?
it usually takes a little bit longer.
Some people
You
are
know,
just like, wham, did it in the
the
weekend.
yeah, I mean, it definitely is faster than writing the book itself. But the real challenge is, like killing all your darlings. Like so much has to be cut from a book, especially if it's being made. A TV series you could extend it, but a movie that's 90 pages from a 400-page book, a lot has to go. So that I find is the biggest challenge, and I've actually once done it in reverse. I wrote the script and then I adapted it into a book, and it
Hmm.
was like an action thriller. So it almost became like a really great outline that then I was able to extend.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost as if by writing the novel that, based on the screenplay, you can improve the screenplay too.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Both like hand in hand. Like as I'm getting to be a better screenwriter, it's helping me become a better novelist, and like a lot more of like eliminating anything unnecessary. I've learned that that's been a really good trick, where maybe I was a little too flowery before in my prose.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from on that.
Hmm, hmm.
Let me see. What's the experience of having your books option been like?
Well, not great to be
Oh,
honest. Yeah, I mean, I've had stuff be optioned and then it fell apart pretty much every time. With one of my projects in particular, it's happened multiple times. This current thing with the young adult series is the furthest something has gone, in terms of people attached and interest. So this project has been great so far. Everything else, no,
wow.
no.
Sorry to
And
hear that.
well, it's sort of just the way it is, but it makes me
True.
be like, okay, no project is ever dead. Options expire, the rights revert back to you, and then I try again, basically. And if this thing goes forward, I think that will obviously open up a lot of doors for a lot of the other ones. So, I'm motivated and patient as much as possible.
You have to be when you're in this
Yeah.
business. It's just
Yeah.
amazing.
And sometimes, I mean, this wasn't my experience, but I know a lot of people, their works get optioned over and over and over again. And it's a good paycheck that you wind up, even if it never gets made, that you wind up just getting. So sometimes you could pretty much live off the option. Mine were not those, but maybe one day, maybe one day.
Yeah, keep at it. It'll happen.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so tell us about Fringe. What kind of outside of the box fiction does it publish?
Yeah, so we actually haven't started up yet. We originally were going to start right before COVID, and then COVID happened, and it just kind of put a wrench in it. But it will happen eventually. And what I'm looking for is like books that would be on the fringe that should be published by the mainstream publishers, but for whatever reason they're afraid of it. It's too out there. Those are the kind of books that I want, and I'm interested also in authors that have also a screenwriting background, because I want to try to feed those books as much as possible into producers' hands and people like that, and make it happen beyond just being a novel. So we're maybe aiming for 2023, but I have a feeling it'll probably be like 2024.
Hmm. Wow.
It'll happen
So
when it's meant to happen.
so this could be an interesting opportunity for writers out there who are
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There's a few manuscripts that I sort of have in my back pocket of people that we were interested in, my business partner and I, and I just need to do it when it's absolutely the right time for myself. But I'd really like to be able to put works out there that would potentially be overlooked because they're too weird. Almost like if David Lynch was to write a book, that's what we're looking for.
that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah, yeah. I love David Lynch, so like
Me
a David
too.
Lynch novel, send it along. Yeah.
Wow, I love this concept.
Thank you,
Um,
thank you.
how did you get involved in curating the Gorilla Lit reading series?
Yeah, so Gorilla Lit, I think we're 13 or 14 years old at this point, and it was a bunch of people. I got my MFA at the new school, and right after we graduated, a few of my friends and I were kind of like, "Oh, it'd be awesome if we started up a reading series where we could support other writers like ourselves." And it's been going strong ever since. So we used to do every month, and now we really only do spring and fall. But we'll be back at Dixon Place down on the Lower East Side the last Wednesday in September. So if you're around, come on out.
That's so cool. Is it strictly a local thing?
Well, actually, over the pandemic, we did it virtual. So we had people, from all over. And then for a minute, we did it hybrid. So, like, I was hosting it, and in the back, we had a projection of an author not from New York City. But it's too difficult to do that every time. So we're going back just alive now. But sometimes we'll get authors who are passing through. They're on a book tour, and we usually aim for three authors a night. And I mean, we've had great people over the years. Like I remember Lev Grossman read for us once when his Magician series came out, and I mean, 1,000 people maybe over the last 14 years. Well, no, maybe not 1,000, maybe like 300.
Feels like 1,000.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, three a year, 12 months, so about 40 a year. Okay, so 14 years, yeah, about 600. Yeah.
Not a bad figure.
No,
Um,
no, it's been really cool, and it's helped also meet so many people in the community as well.
yes, yes, it is, isn't it?
Hmm.
What writers inspire you most, and who are your favorites?
So I'm kind of all over the place. Like I write mostly thrillers, but I sort of love everybody. I'm reading right now a Blake Crouch novel. I love
Oh, yeah.
Blake Crouch. This is his new one. Um, I love John Irving, Paul Auster. Going back, one of my favorite books is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Um, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway. If it's a good book, I'll read it. Yeah, romance. That's probably the only genre I don't read.
Same here.
Yeah, that's not for me. But and like kidlit too. Like I enjoy a good YA as well.
Same here. Yeah, I've read
Mhm.
YA books are really, I think, just universally liked. They can be.
Yeah, I've been reading a bunch of like one set in the '90s. So I just finished this one, Ballad of Suburbia. I'm forgetting the author's last name. Her first name's Stephanie. It was really good. It was like a very hard look at like teenage life in suburbia in the '90s. But it captured it just so well. Like it was just so well written and done. So yeah, I always love a good YA. I'm not so much like fantasy YA. That's not really my thing, but nothing against it.
What's the name of that book again?
It's called Ballads of Suburbia.
Ballads
Um,
of Suburbia.
yeah, Stephanie. The author's last name starts with a Z. I forget the last name.
Sounds very
But
interesting.
yeah, it was good, and it was kind of similar to mine. Like it was set to music, and music was a big part of it. And I want to say it was written about 10 years ago. Um, so yeah, I read that. There was another one. It wasn't. It's not YA, but it was about sort of teenage life in turn of the century, this last century. It was called The Britneys, and that was really good. By Brittany Ackerman. I really like that.
Hmm. Um, let's see. Time management. How do you manage to do all the things you do?
Yeah, time management's tough. I usually like get all my business out of the way in the morning, and then like 1 to 5 is my writing time usually. So afternoons, and I can't really write for more than a couple hours a day. I find my brain just stops working. So I'll usually kind of force myself to stop unless I'm on my last book I was on a deadline for, and I hadn't really started it. It was part of the 5 book series, and it was the last one. And I've never written a book I wrote it in like 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks. I mean, it's like a novella, 200 pages. But that I was working like 6 hours of writing every day.
Wow.
That was crazy. Yeah, yeah. I don't
Yeah.
ever want to do that again. But I think it turned out well. It reads like a fever dream. So I think it worked that it was written so like kind of chaotically.
Hmm. Yeah. What are you watching on TV these days? What's good on
Yeah,
TV in your opinion?
I love TV. I'm honestly sometimes more influenced by TV and film than books even. I think I remember it was before we started the podcast, we were talking about Better Call Saul. I just finished the series finale. It was wonderful. Like just every season of that show was great in its own way. I love, love, love that show. What else? Oh, I loved Hacks. That's a great show on HBO Max. I was
Mm-hmm.
really into Hacks. I just watched The Sandman on Netflix. Um, I really was into it, and then I wasn't.
That's funny how
Like,
things work out that way sometimes.
yeah, like it started out great, and then I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they fall into like the same plots where it was like a girl in peril, and they have to get her, and like it lost its like mystique to it. Um, so that one I was a little bit bummed that it wasn't better.
Mm.
I think what else. And yeah, I've been seeing a lot of movies lately, so I've just been really influenced by film too.
What's a good movie that's come out recently that you've liked?
Um, that I've seen recently. The last movie I saw the other day was Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Um, it's like a teen horror film, but it's satire. So even though it felt a little stupid, it actually was really good, and it had a lot to say about social media and the generation that kind of came up in it, and it had a twist at the I see every twist coming. I did not see this twist coming. So if you're looking for a good twist and like just a good, quick, fun movie, yeah, that was really good. Buddies, buddies, buddies. Really great movie. The last one was probably Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. That was just amazing. Like
That's one I
really.
definitely have to see.
Oh, like I need to see it again. It was just like a perfect movie. It was so good and weird and interesting and great action. Yeah, that one I highly recommend.
Well, the fact that you love David Lynch so much wins me over right away. It's kind of like
Yeah,
I can totally relate. I love that guy.
any I remember being like, I don't know, 10 when Twin Peaks came out, and I never was so obsessed with something. I would like think about it and think about it, and then when it came on, I think it came on like Saturdays or something, I just would be like so excited. And then in my own time, I was like bored in like math classes, so I was writing my own Twin Peaks like when the teacher wasn't looking. And that was my first real instance where I was like, oh, I want to write. So yeah, David Lynch is a huge influence.
Very influential. What advice would you give to someone who's interested in writing for a living?
Yeah, I mean, I think that first of all, you have to be able to take rejection and know that rejection is going to be a huge part of this career, and to be able to just shrug it off, but also to take it in and get better each time. So, like, writing is all about editing, it's about, making your writing stronger and stronger. So, rejection is a good thing. It only, enhances your work. So, you have to have a really thick skin, and it's like somebody who wants to be a singer, like you have to know how to you have to have that talent if you're really going to pursue this as a career. Not everybody can write, but if you really feel and you've been told that like you have the talent, then you're meant to be a writer, and that's what you should be doing. Like, find, even if you have a full-time job, you write on the side, like find whatever, where it's an hour a day before work or an hour a day afterwards, just find the time and get all your thoughts down on paper.
Amen to that. Great advice.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to add that I haven't asked you about?
No, this was great, Debbie. And yeah, if people are interested in my work, my latest series, the Desire Card series, is out. 4 out of the 5 books, and if you're looking for some good kind of espionage thrillers, pick them up.
Fantastic. Well, it sounds great. Thank you so much for being with
Oh,
us
thank you
today.
too. Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
It was a pleasure, believe me. And to all you listeners, just remember to please leave a review if you enjoyed the episode. And if you'd like to access bonus episodes and other perks, check us out on Patreon. On that note, our next guest will be coming up in another week. In the meantime, take care and happy reading.